Yeah, sure, why not? Okay. Fine. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'll do that. All right.
Oh, God.
Hello, we are here, and we are here with Adam as well.
That's me. I'm here. Hello.
And Jake, who's always here as well.
Hello.
For reacting to Doctor Who. We are starting Series 3, finally, after all this time. We've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, but we finally got to Series 3.
We're veterans,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
You've been
I think that's enough time to be a veteran.
Watching the show slower than it was released. But, slow and steady wins the race, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, Jake, I have a very important thing to say to you.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready for me to give you this very, very important information that will change your life?
It better be important. It has to change my life. Okay.
Okay, so a man goes to the doctor, and not the doctor from the show, I mean the medical doctor.
Yes.
And says, "I've got a problem. I have 5 penises." The doctor says, "Well, how do your pants fit?" And he replies, "Like a glove."
Why? Why do you pick these ones?
I agree with Jake. Why?
That one was awful. That one was fucking awful. I'm gonna link you a subreddit where you can get some good jokes.
Right. But that would ruin the fun, because then you'd already know what the jokes are.
Oh, dude, there's so much there. You'll probably be able to find some discreet ones.
I tell you what, on one of these reviews, I haven't decided which one yet, but someday on one of these reviews, I'll let you choose a joke for me. How about that?
Okay, great.
Once you've earned it.
Alright.
You gotta earn your stripes
What's the parameters to me earning it?
You'll find out.
Okay.
I haven't decided yet. Okay, anyway. But yeah, we're here. Starting Series 3. Patreon.com/Androzani is where you can support us and get early access, exclusive access, all that good stuff. On Twitter, twitter.com/Androzani, all that. I have a letterboxd. We also have a Discord chat. That's all there. And the most important thing to know about Patreon is that you can get full-length reactions to these episodes and Torchwood as well. So that's there for you guys to access. So, we're starting Series 3, Jake, with the first episode called Smith and Jones. Your thoughts going into this?
I remember me saying something about a Wild West-themed episode, so I'm going to hold true to that, and we'll see what happens, eh?
Wild West, eh?
Yeah.
Adam, anything you want to add before we begin?
Just hopefully you enjoy.
You guys only ever say that before it's a wacky episode.
Didn't we say that before Love and Monsters? We were like very interested to see your reaction, and hopefully you enjoy this.
Whenever you say hopefully enjoy, it's always with a tinge of like, well, you might not.
To be fair, Jake, you did enjoy Love and Monsters, so there's that.
Yeah.
Yes, but shall we begin Smith and Jones?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let's go cracking. So, that's a new name.
Oh, Freema Agiba, Agiba, Agiba,
And
Ajima.
We got our new fiery surfboard from the last episode as well.
Yeah, good thing it was an old fucking nymphomaniac, man.
What?
Torchwood.
Chris Chibnall?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Chris Chibnall, yeah.
Now take me shopping, big boy.
Fucking hell. What?
What happened? Who was that man? Who was that strange man?
I didn't even catch what he said. Did you just say "see" and took off his fucking tie?
He said like
off?
so. Yeah. Oh, it's the Stig.
It's when Venom takes over the Stig.
Symbiote stick.
God, is Martha gonna run into Jeremy Clarkson?
I don't know. Oh! The Stig rubbed off on her.
Pulse is slightly thready. Well, let's see what
Thready? Your pulse is thready.
Salt. Recommended the inhalation of steam from seawater.
Salt's everywhere.
No doubt we've been afflicted with eye steams. His oats might have been rather more colourful.
Oh, there's two of them!
The Stig multiplied. What's it called? Mitosis?
I was here in bed, past the nurses.
Well, that's weird, because it looked like you. Have you got a brother?
No, not anymore. Just me.
As time passes and I grow ever more infirm and weird, I wish for future generations. Are you ready? As was first proven by anyone?
Benjamin Franklin.
Correct.
My mate ran around a day and a half. I got rope burns off that kite, and then I got soaked. I got electrocuted.
It's not raining here.
Oh boy.
It's raining right on top of you. I can see it, but it's dry where I am.
Alright, when are we going to the Wild West? I've had enough of this London bullshit. Oh my god.
Ah, syringes flying everywhere.
We're on the moon.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. This is pretty Wild West.
I mean, if the moon is in the western direction...
This is as wild as you can get.
I'd just be frozen in confusion.
To be honest, I'd think I was just ill to the point that I was having delusions.
I'd be like, not the fucking ketamine again.
Very good point. Brilliant, in fact. What was your name?
Martha?
And it was Jones, wasn't it? Oh, Martha.
That's a new suit.
Bless the blue suit.
No.
Good. Come on.
Not her. She'd hold us up.
Oh. Get dropped like a stone.
Oh, I love that blue suit.
That's great.
That's like the suit I wore to my fucking stepsister's wedding.
Hey.
I've got it right behind me, actually. Oh, never mind. You can't see it.
I had a cousin, Adiola. She worked at Canary Wharf.
Do you remember this, Jake?
She never came home.
Same actress. From Army of Ghosts.
Oh. Better be the Sycorax again.
That ship looked more like an asteroid.
Yeah.
This looks like a massive canister.
Big lightsabers.
Yeah, true.
Be stuck in hospital, you are. Oh, it's a whole bunch of Stigs.
Jadoon.
Jehu?
Jadoon.
Jadoon.
With blood full of salty fats and vintage wines and all those Michelin star sauces. Oh, I'm so high. I've even brought a straw.
A real monster.
Blood of the rich are sweet, I suppose.
Oh!
Category human.
Robin.
Space Rhino Police.
I mean, they look pretty cool.
They're fantastic. Amazing designs.
They're actually quite scary, to be fair. Even though like it's entertaining, they're actually quite intimidating.
Charge physical assault. Plea guilty. Sentence execution.
Oh boy. Fucking judge and jury all
Justice is swift. These are like hardcore police.
What's that thing?
Sonic screwdriver.
What if you're not going to answer me properly?
No, it really is. It's a screwdriver and it's Sonic.
Needs a spanner.
Did stolen by Emily Pankhurst, cheeky woman. What's wrong with it? Platoon upon the moon. Just travelling past.
It's such an unusual setting to run. Just like chaos everywhere in a hospital.
Stick fast in cars and fast on foot.
If I concentrate, shift the radiation.
Oh man.
Into one spot.
It's like an organ itch.
He's absolutely mad.
You're completely mad.
I looked after one shoe. Foot on the moon. Solid leather all the way through. Someone has got one hell of a fetish.
Like a servant.
My sonic screwdriver.
She was one of the patients.
Oh no.
My sonic screwdriver.
She had this straw like some sort of
I
vampire.
love my sonic screwdriver.
Doctor?
Sorry. Sorry, my doctor.
Very clever. It's just funny how it's like that's what people they put in your hand if you're not allowed back in the bar.
Yeah.
Non-human.
Oh my god, you really are?
And again.
I like how they've got like a whole gun procedure.
Yeah.
Forgive me for this. It could save 1,000 lives. It means nothing. Honestly, nothing.
Oh boy.
That was nothing.
Have you seen? There are these things. These big space rhino things. I mean, rhinos from space. And we're on the moon. Great big space rhinos with guns on the moon. I only give them from my bunions. Look.
Oh,
But isn't that a magnetic resonance imaging thing? Like a ginormous sort of magnet? I did magnetics. You see. Well,
A magnet with its setting now increased. Call it my little gift.
sorry, you'll have to excuse me. I'm a little bit out of depth. I spent the past 15 years working as a postman, hence the bunion. Why would you do that?
With everyone dead, the Judoon ships will be mine.
No, that's weird. You're talking like you're some sort of an alien.
Quite so. Oh, yeah.
You're joshing me.
I am not.
In hospital. What's this place got an ET department?
It's perfect.
That with non-human. Continue the search. You will need this.
What's that for?
Compensation.
Oh, this is gross.
Charged with the crime of murdering the child princess of Pantraville Regency 9.
Well, she deserved it. Those pink cheeks and those blue...
Oh.
Verdict guilty. Sentence execution.
so this is what they do to the Stig when they want a new one.
Burn with me. Burn in hell.
running out of air.
Not their problem. Double CPR.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Scan.
Look at that.
We have to get all these people to a hospital.
Oh my god.
I told them you can't do that. I said we have rights.
You can't do that. You can't put us on the moon. It's not allowed.
The Earth suspended in space, and it all just proves Mr. Saxon right. We're not alone.
Mr. Saxon, Jake.
There's life out there. Wild.
Did not I said orange?
Clive, that woman is She's never liked the news.
Since when did you watch the news? You can't handle Quizmania.
Annalisa, I heard her.
Oh, he's changed the suit. Back to the old pinstripe. Well, it's a bit creepy.
It would be.
Follow me
It
into
would
this
be if.
alleyway.
It would be if they didn't know each other. Definitely.
Yeah.
A man in a long trench coat waiting in an alley. Yeah, very sus.
I've got some goods for you to buy under this trench coat. Like sonic screwdrivers and laser spanners.
I went to the moon today.
A bit more peaceful than down here.
You never even told me who you are.
Vote Saxon.
The doctor.
This morning. But did you? Oh my God! You can travel into.
Oh!
Aha!
Aha!
Crossing into established events is strictly forbidden. Except for cheap tricks.
It's bigger on the inside.
Is it? I noticed.
Let's get going. But
Oh, the perfect coat throw.
That was a genetic transfer.
Actually.
Actually, it was the transfer.
travel all the way. I'm not remotely interested. I only go for humans.
Okay.
It's actually illegal to not be interested in David Tennant. I'll have you know.
He's got a handbrake.
All right, pause it, Jake.
It is paused.
Okay then.
Can you put us on the sticks
What?
in the thumbnail? Can you put us on the sticks in the thumbnail?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Just find a good shot of them standing and then put you on the old lady, and then me and Adam on the sticks.
Okay. Fine.
I swear there's a shot with them both standing next to her, like perfect.
Yeah, probably. My boys. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put us on the sticks and the plasma ball. All right, Jake. Smith and Jones, start us off.
That was pretty fun. That was a pretty fun episode. I actually really enjoyed it. And it was quirky, and it was paced very well, and the characters, the new characters at least, were great, and the costume design was great, and honestly, the effects were fine. Like the green screen was shaky as fuck, but I don't really care that much.
But how about the practical effects?
Yeah, practical effects really good.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for practical effects, and I think they were really good in this. So I think it made it hold up for sure. Yeah, I thought it was real fun.
Yeah, so we're introduced to a new companion, Martha Jones. So.
So she's gonna stay.
Well, you'll have to wait and see. But
you're spoiling that for me.
Well, I mean, her name's in the title sequence.
Yeah.
Freema Agerman.
So was Catherine Tate's.
That is true.
That is very true.
But you may be double bluffing yourself by thinking that she's, anyway.
Okay.
But your first impression on Martha Jones?
Me? She's good. She's like, she's definitely, just as I don't know. I wouldn't. I was gonna compare her to Rose, but I can't really compare her to Rose. But she's got like that smart, and she's witty as well. You know, which I reckon is really cool. I like strong female character leads. I think they always really carry stories really well, and I think if she becomes one of like, you know, can match the intuition of the Doctor, it's gonna make for a really interesting combination of both of them together on episodes.
Well, it's interesting because obviously he's a doctor and she's a doctor, but different kinds of doctors. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. But like she brings the logical thinking to the plate, you know, like where, you know, she says some things where it's like, well, you would just, if you use, you know, common sense, you put 2 and 2 together, and then you kind of get that result, and then you know how the Doctor was always like, that's good, it's not a bad idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like with the oxygen and everything as well, and that, so it's yeah, I think she's gonna be a really good companion.
Well, yeah, she's very unlike, I'd say, because for example, with someone like Rose, she was very much like living in a council estate, had a minimum wage job, was not really going anywhere in life. Whereas Martha is about to pass her PhD, or she hopes to. So she's actually doing quite well for herself in terms of her like career wise.
Yeah.
She's on the right track.
The thing about Rose is like, and what made her such a good companion was because we were seeing everything kind of through her lens for a little bit at the start of the show. You know, newcomers to the Doctor Who universe would have been experiencing and all the fantastical stuff the same way that Rose was experiencing it, where she's like, you know, taken aback by all these things happening and can't really process what's going on. But now that we're, you know, into series 3, it makes sense for the companion to not be like that anymore, to be someone that can more, you know, compartmentalize and understand what is actually happening in front of them.
I mean, there was certainly shocks to the system, but she was adaptable, you know.
Yeah, just like quick enough to feet and understood what was going on. I think that's just gonna make it the story and the pacing of things go much faster, because it's not going to be like stop and explain what's going on. It's kind of just like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, and explanations just kind of come into fruition from that.
And from that, you can imagine if she's I suppose, going on that theory, if she's a more like productive member in terms of just getting things done, that would allow more time to flesh out her personality. Maybe, would you say?
Yeah.
Because that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. So obviously, she was the main addition that we got for this episode. So, like I said, with her career, obviously she's doing quite well. However, as you saw, the part of her life that she seems to be struggling with is she's stuck between a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
That's falling apart at the seams, really. With obviously, you know, the father and the mother have separated, and the father has a missus, and her brother and sister aren't exactly helping with the matter either, because they've got their own issues, and Martha's just trying to like hold them all together, but she just can't.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely the part where she's just under a lot of pressure, and
I
can see why the opportunity of escaping that with the Doctor and the TARDIS.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's an attractive one, especially because
they can travel in time, so it's not like she'll really go anywhere.
And especially considering the impression the Doctor had on her here, if you get what I'm saying.
Yep.
All right, Adam, your turn to start talking.
Okay, so I'll just try and be concise to begin with, but to be completely blunt, I fucking adore this episode. It's just, in terms of fun television, you can't get much better in my opinion. It is just so breezy, so entertaining, really gross. Martha is I would say, flawlessly characterized. Not saying that she is a flawless character, but saying how she is presented in being a
Flawlessly
human
written.
being. Yes, exactly. It's presented in such a wonderful way, which we can glean parts of her life and understand where she's coming from, whilst also being entertained by her. You know, we're just sort of in it with her. We get to know her pretty much instantly. As soon as we start with that modern for the time, contemporary rather, that contemporary song, and she's got all those different people from her family calling her up, and she's juggling them all, and they all sort of rely on her. She's the sort of bedrock of their family. Immediately you understand, she has responsibility, but she's sort of drowning in her family while she's also dealing with her own aspirations of becoming a doctor. That if her personal life wasn't stressful enough, and that sort of makes her this sort of really, like, much more world, not weary, because that she's not cynical by any means, but she's just much more able to handle herself in high pressure situations than perhaps Rose would be. Because Rose tended to sort of shut herself off from people who weren't the doctor if they annoyed her, whereas Martha's like, no, alright, I'm going to get on top of this, I'm going to do what I can to make everything better. We do this, and this is the game plan.
Like on the moon.
Where it goes from there.
Like on the moon, they were in a disaster, and she says, we got to you follow the procedure, you know?
Exactly, and she was collected enough to be able to realise, look, if we were running out of oxygen, we'd all be dead already. Would be gone. Yeah. And that's what... Because the doctor already kind of noticed her and sort of, was being his sort of cheeky self. He was showing off to her as Mr. Smith in the bed and also in the future / past with the tie thing. Mm-hmm. But as soon as she said that thing about the oxygen, immediately the doctor's like, her. I want to be around her. She's great. She's someone I can feed off of. And he does. But there's also that little bit of contention in their relationship where she asks him personal questions, and you can tell he's flabbergasted by it because A, he's recently lost Rose, and B, because he's still dealing with the grief of what happened during the Time War and everything like that. And it's just such wonderful characterization from the two leads, and they're bouncing off each other in such a fun way. And Murray Gold's score that bounces between the two of them is terrific. It's really quippy, but it's never annoying. It's like moving at just such a click, and the monsters are really funny and interesting, and the whole conceit of this disguised creature that feeds off blood through a straw is just so gross and wonderful. And the setting of the hospital on the moon, it's just brimming with creativity, and it's just sort of this one where it's like the episode grabbing our hand and saying, run, like the Doctor did with Rose, except the show's doing it to us, I find.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and it's this episode has a lot in it, but it doesn't ever feel messy. It's very well constructed, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well paced, well
brilliant.
written.
It's, like you said, it's no longer kind of, it's no longer like leading us and like giving us the answers to things straight away. It's sort of just being like, hey, we'll grab you, you follow along, and everything will kind of play out in front of you, and you'll understand it by the end. But you just got to trust us now that this is the way that things are going to be paced now. It's no longer, spell things out before it happens. It's just gonna fucking happen, and then you're just gonna be blown away by the pacing and the acting and everything now, which is kind of what I've been waiting for in a way, where it's like it's more like it's just action. No, it's not just action, but it's more concise, like plot twists and things being kept in the dark.
It's really focused. It's really focused. Yeah, I would also say I think. One thing that I did comment on in terms of the writing for the last review we did, but in terms of the performance, you can tell that David Tennant's had a year to let it sit in and rewatch the stuff that he's done, and his performance is so refined now. Like all the little bits and pieces that he does that he was experimenting with in series 2 have now refined into this character, and everything just feels right. Like he's hilarious. But he's not only hilarious, but he's hilarious in interesting ways. And my favourite scene for him is the scene where he shows two sides of the Doctor that I love. Firstly is the manipulative side, when he goes and plays dumb to give the Plasmavore a false sense of security. but also it's to sacrifice himself to save those people on the moon.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
manipulative and heroic at the same time, which are two things that I feel like Tennant's Doctor is really defined by.
And you can also tell he's refined it by, before we had the whack fucking hyped up Doctor before, which was still great, but you can tell he's like really like honed in on what makes it funny about him going completely fucking psycho, and instead of it just being like the idiot's lantern where he's like actually losing his fucking mind, this time it's like it's comedic in an interesting way because it's still following an idea that makes sense in the Doctor's universe.
It's a lot less random too. All the comedy in this results from events in the plot melding into it. So stuff like I love the scene. I remember as a kid I used to replay the scene a lot. The scene where they kill the slab with the radiation, that scene is so funny, and it's just all these little things that add up on top of each other, like with how like Martha obviously having to rush to push the button and find out what to do and everything, and then you get the whole thing of like the radiation stuck in his body and he's having to shake it out and he has to take his shoe off, and then he's like, I look dumb.
And the sonic screwdriver part where he's just fucking he's just staring at her like,
I love my sonic screwdriver.
And she's like, what the fuck is going on?
And then as soon as she gets his attention, he throws the screwdriver behind him.
Yes. And also just before that, it's like she's saying that he's completely daft because of the way he's acting, and he doesn't realize it, and he's just like, yeah, I look daft with one shoe, and he takes the other one off and throws it in the bin. Barefoot on the moon. And also a bit of, I know we're jumping a little bit forward to trivia, but this is essential funny bit of trivia.
Yes.
Russell T Davies specifically wrote the dialogue in this episode about like Jadoon platoon on the moon, right? He obviously wanted an episode on. Oh, Adam's gone. He obviously wanted an episode on the moon, and he obviously called it a Jadoon that was a platoon. And the reason why is because obviously David Tennant is Scottish, and he has to put on a British accent to play this role. But the one thing that he really struggles with is the two O's, is because in Scottish the two O's sound so different to English.
Yeah.
And so Davies, the bastard he is, wrote a script where he has to use lots of double O's. And that's why he sounds so dumb when he says, Jadoon platoon on the moon. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I thought I'm with Adam on this. I love this episode. Start to finish, everything about it's captivating. We learned so much about Martha and her family. The Doctor feels revitalized. He's even got a new suit, the blue suit, which is great.
Oh yes.
But he ditches it.
Well, but that's because he went off to build a new screwdriver and got changed and came back.
Oh right.
But he had it for most of the episode. But like the Doctor is revitalized, although there's still a lot hanging over, which is great because it shows that there's still linking storytelling between series 1 and 2 and 3. And also, I love the Jadoon. The Jadoon's a great idea for a villain. You got the Rhino police that catalog people, but they're
just drones as well. Like they're literally just robots at the same time.
Yeah, and like just everything about them. I love the prosthetics. I love the performance from the voice actor. I love the whole idea that they're kind of like a third party in this, the sense that they're not the hero or the villain. They're just there to enforce law.
Yeah.
And that makes them a really interesting thing. And one detail from this episode that I really liked that kind of established what kind of police they are was the scene where the Doctor went down to the floor they'd already been to, and they said, the Jadoon are logical, but they're a bit daft. They wouldn't go to a floor that they've already checked. And that was a great little detail that sort of established what kind of police they are.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I love that. And then you've got the Plasmavore. Like, it's kind of a vampire, but it's a sci-fi vampire in the sense that she's assimilating blood to hide herself from the Jadoon. It's just...
Absolutely.
This episode is so booming with creativity at all ends.
Yeah, it's very creative.
And energy.
Episode.
It's not... Yeah. It's because, like, you can... Because there's episodes of the show... Like, for example, New Earth with the hospital. There's so many creative ideas, but it's all over the place. Whereas this is just... laser focused, and it makes all of the bizarre shit so entertaining because you're just sort of like, okay, I'm just going with it. It's taking me, and I'm there.
Do you know if this is one of the episodes that they would have filmed first or later?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
It may
I
have
feel
been a
like
bit
this
cut
is.
up.
I feel like this is one that they probably had a good amount of time to spend on.
Oh, I know that.
And really work on
well,
it.
what I can say is that with Series 3, they had a much easier time because we explained during Series 2 about the rush production schedule and how everything was done out of order and how they had to cast a new Doctor, they had to reshuffle it because they had to remove the Christmas Invasion and the Runaway Bride and the Stephen Fry episode all from it and add in Tooth and Claw, Love and Monsters and Fear Her, and also cast a new Doctor and do all that crap. And they filmed everything out of order, and it was a mess. And it's a great mess, but it's still a mess, and it kind of comes out a bit rushed.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, like Series 1, was filmed so much more like on schedule, and that's why it's so much tighter.
Yeah.
You know.
Alright.
It's
Absolutely.
yeah, and it works. It works so well. I personally, like Adam, I love Smith and Jones. I think it kind of hits the nail on the head of everything it needed to do as a series opener. It's fun, it's exciting, it's character focused, the comedic moments are great. I love the bit, like, some of the Doctor's quirkiness is a lot more, he's kind of made a bit of his own mark on it now. Like, you get that scene where the Jadoon are cataloguing people, and it's quite scary. And the Doctor says, "Oh, you've got a shop. I love little shops."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very Tennant thing, you know. But yeah, just overall, I excellent, absolutely excellent, I think.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I will agree with you, Jake, though. My one big criticism of this, though, is the green screen. The green screen looks shit, but
it doesn't matter.
But again, like, if you had the money, you could fix that in post.
And also, I'd like to add something to this, because though the green screen is really harsh and the lighting is sort of inconsistent, there is a shot that, even though it's quite shonky, I absolutely love, where it's just Martha in profile looking out to the horizon, and then it's just black and stars behind her. Yeah. And even though you can clearly see it's a green screen, just the way it is composed and her performance and the music, it's beautiful. Like, I can tell that it's not real, but I just get so pulled into the episode because of the writing and the editing and everything. Is just firing on all cylinders.
Well, like you're saying, Adam, like, the scene's well directed. It's just the effects. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, yeah.
But I can see why it would take someone out of the scene, though. I can see that.
But it's just something I noticed so easily. But it didn't take me away from listening to what was being said and what, you know, what was happening. It was one of those moments as well where it's like the fantastical moments of the episode where they're standing in a hospital on the moon where they should be fucking suffocated to death already, but they're not. And she's just staring out at her own planet. And yeah, it is one of those moments that's just, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. The whole idea of what's going on is too awe-inspiring to care.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just this episode, like, I could gush over it, but it's just so good. I don't know what else to say. It's just top to bottom a beautiful piece of work.
Yeah.
Speaking of that scene, though, I did mention this a little bit in the reaction. So, in that scene, Martha mentioned that her cousin died in Canary Wharf. She was working there. Yes. And this is obviously a reference to Army of Ghosts Doomsday. So if you remember in part 1, there was that woman and that man that were emailing each other, and they ended up being converted into Cybermen. So the actress who played Adeola was Freema Agyeman, who plays Martha.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she was recast as the companion, and that's why they had that reference.
Right.
Yeah.
Identical cousin.
Exactly. Yes. Very weird. But yeah, absolutely excellent. One other small thing I was just going to add on top of that as well was the guy who was the head of the hospital. I can't remember his name. But I was just going to point to him for a second because I think he is such a great example of how someone like Russell T Davies can just come up with a character on the spot. Because this guy has about 1 or 2 scenes of character development, and in that you have him saying, I was meant to see my daughter graduate from university, and I'm never going to see that now. And also talking about, like, I was meant to retire 2 years and go to Florida, and now I can't.
Yeah.
And he looks at the Earth and sees Florida. And
Yeah.
then, so you get that, and then on the other side of that, you get the Plasmavore saying, I chose you because you have the best tasting blood, all those wines and rich sauces.
Yeah.
And you learn so much about him in, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it never feels
Wrong.
like it's being it never feels like it's being told to us. It's just
Yeah.
part of the universe, and this information is being gleaned naturally.
Well, this was...
This
was one of our biggest criticisms of Torchwood Day One that me and Jake had, was that the dialogue was very direct. It was kind of telling us how to feel, whereas this was the opposite of that. It would say something and you would think about it and then think about something else.
Yeah, it's like it's development like weaved into a plot. It's not development to progress a plot. It's and if you can do that seamlessly, you can just create these characters from the bottom up in a couple of minutes, and it's it's perfect writing.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I am as you can probably tell from all these reviews we've done, I am a gigantic fan of Russell T Davies' writing. I just think it's the bee's knees, really. Like, it has everything I want. It's fun. It's not cheap either. It's like well told, and the characters are well built, and it's relatable, but it's still like in this sci-fi realm, so that you got all this new stuff, but then it's not bogged down and slow and boring. It's really, really enjoyable, and it's smart, and it's clever, and it's just it's magic.
Brilliant.
It's magic.
It's just the perfect series opener where, like, you've not watched Doctor Who since Christmas, or perhaps you missed the Christmas special, because getting it on replay was much harder back then. And then you've waited months and months and months, and then suddenly, all right, we're back into it, and everything's just, all right, go.
Yeah,
we're in.
And
it's a new feel, but it's faster and it's fun, and it's still familiar, but it's evolved. And it's brilliant.
Yeah, and you talk about replay. Obviously, they had the vanilla DVD releases and sometimes the box sets, but at this point, it would have been the vanilla releases of the DVDs that came out a couple of months after the episodes came out. However, if you remember being a kid back in 2007, trying to get Doctor Who DVDs at the shop was not easy because it was so damn popular. Like, I remember going to the video shop in our area, the Eastridge one, you would know what it is, and I remember going there and just seeing this big line of grey cases of Doctor Who. Like, I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't get any because they're all taken. And you can see why, because, like, what 10-year-old wouldn't enjoy this? Seriously. Like, it's brilliant.
It absolutely is.
Oh, yes. So, shall we watch a YouTube clip? Martha, apart from, obviously, because we've had, you know, minor companions like, well, not necessarily minor, but like secondary companions like Adam Mitchell, Captain Jack, and Mickey before. But Martha Jones is the second sort of major companion we've had in New Who. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be watching the scene where the second sort of major entry of a companion in Classic Who comes to the TARDIS. You know what's one thing that I see some people criticizing about the Davies era, and it's the way it's directed, is a lot of people feel like there's a lot of overacting, but I feel that makes it fun. You know? Like stuff like, the rain is going up! Like, it is, technically speaking, I suppose you could argue it's overacting, but I kind of enjoy it in a way.
Would you be able to tell if rain's going up? That's what I was thinking about when that was happening.
Given the visual, I suppose.
You'd have to be paying really close attention.
Yeah, because
to see the droplets spreading up.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like.
Well, you'd have to look at the floor. Right?
It would have to be What if it was like hail though? If it was hail, you'd probably see it go up, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That was kind of a philosophical question.
So we are going to watch Vicky joins the TARDIS from the rescue.
Doctor, we were talking about Vicky.
Yes,
we were
do you
wondering
think that Vicky could
I can see we've all reached the same decision. Now, I suggest we try and get the answer from the child, Vicky, my dear, come in.
But it's huge. And the outside is just... Oh, I'd like to. Yes, if you'll have me.
This is rescue ship calling.
They have their planet back to themselves again. And somehow I don't think they would allow that rescue ship to land.
That isn't why you brought Vicky along with us, is it, Doctor?
Perhaps we shall be able to get a rest this time.
Oh.
Here we are, safely down.
What's that movement, Doctor?
Hold on! Oh no!
Oh
Wonderful.
boy. They went for a bit of a tumble.
Yes. So it started out quite sweet, and then they ended up falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your thoughts on that, Jake?
Yeah, it's a bit different to how we experienced the second companion, but
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
I suppose
mean,
you don't really have the context, I suppose.
No, it's another one of those clips where I have no fucking clue what the hell happened before this, so I'm just watching a person walking to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just love the way that like Vicky, obviously I'll give a bit of backstory. Vicky was like she's from the future, and you know the one person that she really knew was kind of her foster father, and he betrayed her in that story. Like it was one of those mysteries where her father ended up being the one behind it, and she had nothing left, you know, to live for on her planet. And and the Doctor had he obviously, because if you remember during the Doomsday review, we watched the scene where he said goodbye to his granddaughter.
Oh, dude, that was a while ago, but
okay,
kind of.
It was when his granddaughter was outside the TARDIS and he was talking to her over the scanner. So that had just happened, and he was actually feeling a bit sad about how he had just let his granddaughter go, and he was getting used to her, and then, you know, he saw the opportunity for her to come on the TARDIS, and he couldn't really resist it because firstly she had nothing else left, and you know, and it was really sad, and also he kind of had this like hole to fill, if you know what I mean, because he just loved having his granddaughter around even though he had to let her go. And I think I just love the way how, like, for Vicky this was such a massive moment for her. You can see how amazed she was, and she's like, oh, if you'd have me. And then I just love the way how welcoming Ian and Barbara are, and like how they're just like smiling, like almost like it's interesting how, because Ian and Barbara, when they first got taken into TARDIS, they were kidnapped.
Right.
They were kidnapped by the Doctor so he wouldn't get found by the police.
Yeah.
But then here, they are seeing what it's like to be invited on this thing after having 2 seasons travelled with the Doctor, and understand from her point of view now what it's like to have this wonderful experience, to be invited on this journey, which is why you can see they're so happy to have her. And I just love the Doctor's little laugh. He's like, you know, now that she's joined. Yeah, it's just a lovely little scene, I think. And it kind of echoes what we got here with the Doctor. You know, even though he said to Donna and the Runaway Bride that he wished, you know, he's better off traveling alone, she mentioned that, you know, he needs someone. And he's obviously grieving over having Rose not there. And now Martha is looking for something with her family dysfunctional and the hospital in ruins and her PhD possibly being delayed.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's just meant to be. And the Doctor has a hole to fill as well. So it's kind of, there's a little bit of a parallel here of the Doctor losing someone and wanting another person to fill that void.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I chose that clip.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, Smith & Jones was originally planned to air on the 17th of March 2007. However, the date was shifted back a week to 24th, when it was realised that it would have gone up against the final series of Dancing on Ice. Which, as we know, dancing shows in the UK are very popular, as are game shows. And then the episode was then shifted back again another week to the 31st of March because of the England's European Championship qualifier against Israel on the 24th. So it had shifted back twice.
Yeah.
Worth the wait.
2-week delay.
Yes. This is a generally well-regarded episode, but it didn't go down well with everyone. So there were some people that weren't a fan of it.
Okay.
So in terms of what the audience reaction was like, Dave Bradley of SFX said, gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, calling it an explosive start and praising Martha's character and the Jadoon. IGN's Traffic Fickett believed it started with the series with a fun alien invasion story, as well as terrific introduction for Martha. The Sage reviewer Scott Matthewman noted that the science in the episode doesn't stand up to close scrutiny, and felt that Martha's family was the weakest part, because they seemed to be little more than a sitcom caricature. But he praised Agerman and her character. The thing is, I actually like that, though. One thing that I love about that whole, especially with Martha's dad and his missus and all that, is it's funny how people talk about Russell T and say that he's like a soap opera writer. But I feel like he's kind of taking the piss out of soap opera with this.
100%. It was a piss take.
It was completely a piss take of soap opera, and that's why it's so funny.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's supposed to be overwhelming for Martha and by proxy us, the audience. So us having that kind of confronting introduction to the family, we sort of immediately sympathise with Martha, like, oh, you poor thing, you have to put up with this.
Yeah. I'm putting my foot down. This is me putting my foot down.
Exactly. So you can, and again, as you were saying to your point earlier, Connor, it also gives us reason to believe why Martha would want to just get away, even if it was just for a little while.
Absolutely.
Just to escape that.
Dick Hogan of Digital Spy was more mixed, saying that a little bit of magic seems to have gone, citing Finnegan as perhaps not a terrifying enough monster for the first episode, and that Martha's complicated family baggage contributed to making her not as good a character as Rose and Donna had been. Interesting.
I can see why he says that. Like, the threat of her of Finnegan by itself only posed like a small threat to like a few people, and the threat of the Jadoon was like kind of squashed once they started marking people off. But like, and then the only threats were like, if they don't find it, they kill all the humans.
Well,
here.
the threat,
and then also the MRI wiping out all people, and that was like but that was all the way at the end.
Well, the threat was...
So I understand him, yeah.
Well, I get what you mean by that, but the thing is, the threat was the setting, and the Plasmavore was not a power villain.
I guess also oxygen running out and everything,
of course. It was a setting threat, but the Plasmavore was devious. Plasmavore was a coward, not a threat. It's different, and... Yeah, I think.
Well, I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Of course, yeah. But I'm trying to sort of explain what I think is flawed with his point, and that I feel like the point isn't for the Plasmavore to be a threat. The point is that them being on the moon is the threat, and the Plasmavore is why they're there, and the Plasmavore is trying to hide from the Jadoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, well, I think also because it's sort of it's more about introducing the character of Martha. You didn't immediately want to pit her against something that's horrific and unsettling and disturbing.
Yeah.
You didn't want you didn't want something exactly. You didn't need something like that. And also the fact that the villain is kind of goofy, for me at least, makes the episode more enjoyable because it's sort of this. Exactly, it's just this bizarre concept. It's just Russell T Davies' brain unhinged and just going wild, and I love that. So I personally think it enhances the episode by not necessarily having as scary a threat. It doesn't make them any less of a threat, it just makes them more goofy to watch, more funny. It's not that the characters are in any less peril. It's just that to us, the audience, they aren't perceived as menacingly.
Yeah.
But even so, there are 3 main antagonists, which is the Plasmavore, the Jadoon, and the fact that the oxygen is running out. So there's sort of like there's all these, all these different things going on. So yeah, I agree. It didn't need it to be like that.
Also, one thing I was going to mention that I forgot to, I've put the picture of it in the chat just so I have a bit of reference for you, both of you. One of my favorite pieces of acting from David in this episode is when Martha mentions Canary Wharf, obviously because her cousin was there. Like, originally, the writing of that scene is so that they can clear up the continuity of why the same actress is appearing again. So, obviously, she had a cousin in Canary Wharf, but then that triggers the Doctor because he's remembering Canary Wharf and what happened there. And this shot of him, like, he starts talking about, like, I was there on Canary Wharf with the war, and then he just stops.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can just see that he's still not over it. He's still grieving and doesn't want to really show it, but you can see it under his eyes. And I think it's a really lovely bit of acting.
And also, you're absolutely right, and part of the reason why I really love that small moment is it reminds us that this Doctor, though he's being really fun and brash and sort of adventurous, he's hiding something. He's running away from confronting, getting some form of closure. He feels this agony, this weight, this trauma, and he doesn't quite know what to do with it, so he just goes back to his I'm going to be an adventurer. So when he meets Martha, someone he has a rapport with, he immediately latches onto her, but also distances himself from any form of social connection beyond this kind of adventurer companion relationship. He doesn't engage, whereas with Rose, Christopher Eccleston straight up says, alien this, alien that, and eventually, in the second episode, tells her about the Time War. Whereas with this, the Doctor's like, nope, not mentioning Canary Wharf, and he only he says, sometimes I have guests, not talking about the extent of his relationship with Rose. He's running from his pain. And that's why I think that little moment of grounding it back to reality of what's underneath sort of elevates the whole episode from what they do with the character with the Doctor.
And like we said in the review of The Runaway Bride, this is the most complex we've seen the Doctor written since Eccleston.
Absolutely.
And it's all been building up to that point. And the loss of Rose has created this complexity, and I love it. It's so good. And it gives the actor so much more to work with, and David Tennant just kills it every time. Every time he's on screen in this episode, he does everything exactly how it needs to be. And I think, I loved him in Series 2, but here he's just on another level now for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another part of this episode that I loved was Murray Gold.
Oh, yes.
So, Jake, do you want to talk about the music first, or do you want to listen to the track?
Yeah, let's listen to the track, because I'll try to figure out where that song would have been.
All right, then. Well, I'm going to open up Spotify, and both of you should too, because we are going to be listening to Martha's theme. right, Jake. All right, Jake. Your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna try to figure out where it was played because I'm pretty sure it was when she entered the TARDIS.
Definitely, it was definitely there. Yes,
definitely there. But did it play throughout the episode as well? In
Yes,
moments?
Yes.
it was
Yeah,
sprinkled throughout.
Yeah.
So they played it throughout. However, it was the version that you heard there was the full version that played at the end of the episode. But but Murray Gold very subtly seeded it throughout, and the more Martha and the Doctor got to know each other, the louder it got.
Yeah.
So it was really like a low-key version early on, and then as it went on, it built and built and built, and then when she entered the TARDIS, you heard that version, and it's just, that's what happened.
Yeah. It was really good. It's a really good building song, and it we already praise him enough, but he's very good at creating themes and things that invoke the right kind of feeling for the character that they're about. And also the scene or the episode that the song was about. So yeah,
I had goosebumps listening to that. It's beautiful, the whole thing. From the vocalist that that does the vocals for this. It's interesting because it's a similar style to themes with her before, except the vocalist that does it is a different voice, and it sounds different to the other one.
Yeah.
Which it kind of simplifies the whole change of companion, because with the themes that were around Rose, like Rose's theme, Father's Day, and with the Doomsday theme and the Doctor's theme, they all sounded like it was a kind of different pitch, whereas this is a much lower pitch, and I feel like it suits Martha, if you get what I'm saying. But it's not just that; it's all the little details, the violins, the pianos, the building, and then the little bit at the end with the epic orchestra. It's just it's a masterpiece. I love it. Adam, can you have your opinion?
Okay. So I just got to be fully honest here. Martha's theme is one of my favorite pieces of music in existence. I adore this. Like, it's just... Okay, to break it down, sort of why it sort of connects with Martha's character, I find, is the more sort of husky voice of the vocalist. It's not as operatic or clean, though it is very strong. There's a bit more of an earthy tone to the sound, which sort of... this sounds crazy, but it's sort of... in my mind, I sort of associate that with Martha being sort of very much pulled back by her family, because it's a very sort of not sad, but melancholic piece. The actual melody itself is quite melancholic, and it's got this very sort of human, natural sound, and it sort of feels like it's yearning to be bigger, and slowly it is, but there's about 2 or 3 fake outs throughout where there's a little pieces of brass in the background which sort of represent, there's a sense of adventure, or there's a sense of something more just beyond the horizon. And it never quite gets there until right at the end, where suddenly it becomes bombastic, but it doesn't change, it just evolves and it just grows, and the sound becomes stronger and richer, and all the instruments start working together, as opposed to, there's a little bit of the trumpet, there's a little bit of the piano, there's the vocal. It's everything works in tandem, this piece has found its identity at the end, and it just drives and drives and drives and drives this point home, and it just sounds so beautiful, the way it's just woven together, and all these sort of, I don't know if it's what Murray Gold was going for, but that's what I get out of it. All these sort of ideas, and how it sort of just sticks the landing after this really, I find, really moving piece to begin with. It's just so human, if that makes sense. It just feels so human to me, and then it becomes complete at the end and heroic, and I just adore it.
This theme kind of sums up her journey in this episode, in a way. Because that bit at the end, it feels like Enter the Doctor, Enter the TARDIS, with all the big trumpets and everything.
Adventure.
It's
absolutely.
It's beautiful. I love Murray Gold, man. He is. It's like he was already brilliant from the start, but it feels like with each series he just steps it up again and again, and just finds new ways to reinvent his sound, and it's just crazy that a BBC sci-fi show is given this much treatment of quality.
Oh yeah.
It just shows the passion of the people working on this show. Like they may not be able to afford good green screen, but they can certainly afford artists that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you talk about the writing, the acting, the direction, like the way that it's shot, and the musician that scores the episodes, like the talent is just bleeding all over it. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's art. Yeah. So can't praise Marigold more. He's a wonderful composer. Yeah. But according to the trivia, apparently the singer Melanie Pappenheim also sung in the Doctor's theme, the Babel theme, and Doomsday. So she actually did sing in those songs. It's just that she's gone for a different pitch. That's quite talent to be able to shift herself like that, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, so I also like that little bit of joke where she was talking about, like, isn't the radiation going to kill you? And then he's like, oh no, we used to play with Rotgen cubes on Gallifrey. That's pretty funny. Oh yes, so John Smith, the Doctor has gone by that name before.
Yes.
So Jake, do you remember the clip that you saw of the Third Doctor when he went to a parallel universe?
No.
Okay. Well, the Third Doctor...
but yeah, and there was the military base.
Yeah. So
yes.
In that era, he got exiled to Earth and his TARDIS was broken. And in that time, he went under the alias of John Smith. So it's kind of it's been a long-running thing, him being called John Smith. And it fits into the whole Smith and Jones thing, obviously, with it being Martha Jones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a bit of homage to the classic
Yes.
Who.
So we had so if you remember in obviously the newspaper in Love and Monsters, and also with the Army Tank and the Runaway Bride, we saw references to Mr. Saxon, and in this episode, they mentioned Mr. Saxon at the end, and then there was a poster behind Martha when she goes into the TARDIS that said "Vote Saxon" on it.
Oh.
So, what that could mean, who knows?
Maybe we'll find out in the next episode.
Possibly.
In the Wild West.
Potentially.
Maybe it's just another fucking fucking bad wolf thing.
Yeah.
It really just misleads us.
Well,
could be.
But it misled you in a way. It misled you in a very good way, didn't it? The thing that didn't mislead you in a good way was the 2 sugars and the tea.
No, that was pointless.
Yes. I'm just skipping through a bunch of the trivia that we don't need to read. That's what we're doing now.
We're on trivia.
Oh yes, burn it up. Both Rose Tyler and Martha Jones were persuaded to travel with the Doctor based on the TARDIS's capability to travel in time. And obviously this would reference to the whole thing of both of them living in the 21st century and time being such a finite resource. You know, obviously it's like, I have places to be, things to do, and it's like, well, I can travel in time. I'll prove it. Yes. The Doctor has previously visited the moon in a story called The Moon Base that had the Cybermen in it.
Yep.
The Doctor is wearing the same pajamas in the hospital that he wore in the Christmas Invasion. Remember when he had the sword fight with the Sycorax with his pajamas on?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. The actress who plays Martha's mother, who's named Adjoa Endo, I believe. She played one of the cats in New Earth.
Ah.
You know she was not the I don't think she may have. I don't think she was the one that said we have claws, but she was the other one that was next to her.
No, that was Novice Haim, I think.
I think so. Yeah, Novice Haim was the one that had claws. But yeah, the actress who played Martha's mother was one of the cat people in New Earth. That's crazy. Yes. The viewership was 8.7 million.
Damn.
Pretty good.
Nice.
It was about the same as New Earth, so they've maintained the numbers.
Yep.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so Jake, give your conclusion and a rating out of 10 for Smith and Jones.
Yeah, I mean, one of the better episodes that we've definitely watched. The best opener to a series, that's for sure, out of the 3 that we've watched. And yeah, I thought the introduction of Martha was perfectly done, and the build up of all the other characters and the plot was not forceful at all, and everything felt like it should be happening. There's nothing out of place, and it didn't feel forced in any way. And obviously the David Tennant did an amazing job, as he always does. And it was just a really fun episode, and it didn't feel like a whole 45 minutes. It kind of just went by, and it was done. It was great. So yeah, I'll probably give it a 9 out of 10, to be honest.
Solid. So Adam, your turn.
I pretty much echo everything Jake said. It's the perfect opener. I do think it's better than both prior seasons' openers. It's so much fun. We get everything we need to know to set up Martha as a character. Her interplay with the Doctor is really entertaining. Every actor is on fire. The score is amazing. The editing's so good. It moves at such a clip, as Jake said. 45 minutes just breeze by, and it's just the perfect setup for this adventure to come. It's brilliant, and I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10 because it's just I just love it so much.
Yeah, so Smith and Jones is absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best openers. I do have a real soft spot for Rose, but again, it's like it's neck and neck for me, and it destroys New Earth. But yeah, the Doctor's perfect, Martha's perfect, the Jadoon are brilliant, the Plasmavores are a great idea, the Moon, the character development, the character building, the world building, the plot, everything works. It's entertaining, it's interesting, it's clever, and it does everything it needs to. The direction's on fire, the music's on fire, the acting's on fire, and my only minor criticism is the green screen, but if you had enough money and you had the resources, you could fix that and post with CGI, so it doesn't even matter. So, like Adam, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10, because it is exactly what a series opener needs to be. It's brilliant. So, thumbs up. Well done. Okay, so that means that next time we have the second episode of Series 3, which is called The Shakespeare Code. So it's a bit of a play of words on the Da Vinci Code, if you remember that film.
Yep. Old Tom Hanks.
So your anticipation for The Shakespeare Code?
Well, maybe we're going back in time. Maybe we're going to be watching some plays, or maybe there's a secret message that's woven into Shakespeare's plays, and we'll unlock a key to something. So, don't know.
Yes. Wow.
Something along those lines.
Oh. Adam, anything else you want to add before we end the video?
I'm happy to be in Series 3. That was a great start.
Great. Fantastic. Great to have you back. So, we will see you all next time for The Shakespeare Code.
Yes.